Okay. We have you read Nargesh Mirza?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What, are, what is the challenge in Nargesh Mirza?
Ma'am, basically, three things are up for challenge. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
two or uh, two or three organization airlines. One of them is Air India, and the other is IAC. I don't know the full form of that. The air hostesses of those airlines have challenged the rules that govern them. So there are three rules. One of them is regarding the age till which they have to retire. So the age was different in different times, and finally it settled to uh, 35. 35 and 10 years maximum, 10 years extension can be given on the view of the general manager if he allows.
No,
And
no, no, but first was an hostess upon attaining the age of 30 years
that
or on marriage, whichever occurs earlier. The
yes,
tenure extension comes without marriage. If
yes,
you're
yes,
married, you leave.
yes, huh. So if you marry earlier than that age, you have to resign, and if there is no marriage, you have to resign eventually till 30. And then there is a rule that whenever if you get pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to resign. And also there is another rule, I think. No, these were the only two rules: marriage,
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy, and the age.
Mm-hmm.
These three were challenged.
Okay. So, what preceded this case? Two awards.
Mahesh Award and the Khosla Award.
Mm-hmm. So, what did
and
those awards say?
and in those two also, the mediator, Mahesh, and Khosla, Justice Khosla, they also agreed with the view of the airlines that a woman air hostess, she has to she will not be able to work for a very long age. So if that
You'll have to
age
give
is
me a minute. There's somebody at the door. Sorry about that. Yes, please continue.
so the Khosla tribunal had said that they have the air hostesses have to deal with passengers of various temperaments, and a young and attractive air hostess is able to cope with difficult or awkward situations more competently and more easily than an older person with less personal prepossessions.
Mm-hmm.
And also they said that it was also pointed out by the air hostesses, by the management, that the air hostesses do not stay for a very long in the service of Air India, and young and attractive women are more inclined to look upon service in Air India as a temporary occupation than as a career. So the
Okay.
Mahesh tribunal and the Khosla tribunal, both of them mainly accepted the views of the management that
Mm-hmm.
even if we increase the retirement age, most of the women retire before attaining the age of 30, so it would not be correct to increase the retirement age. And also they said that young and attractive air hostesses are more suitable for this
Somebody should do a
profession.
counting. Somebody should do a counting of how many times this has been repeated in the judgment as part of the Khosla and the Mahesh tribunal. And also, what is their grievance? Why are they saying we need more age? We need avenues for promotion. Why are they saying so? They're comparing their work with the bursters, the men, the male employees also on the aircraft and the air hostesses. So the male bursters had a better job conditions, working conditions. They had a longer age of retirement. They had better promotional avenues compared to the air hostesses. And they said, we are doing similar work. We are going to do similar work. We are entitled to similar pay and terms and conditions of service. So the men are not retiring on marriage. The men are not asked to resign on childbirth. Men are not retired at the age of 30. Why should the women be? So what do you think when the tribunal said that young and attractive women can handle the unruly men better? What is it that we are finding here?
Ma'am, their patriarchal approach.
Why is patriarchal?
Ma'am, because they believe they basically do not do not are not looking at the kind of work that an air hostess may do,
Mhm.
regardless of their age. An elder air hostess may be much better than a younger air hostess, but they are basically looking at their outer beauty, their age, their physical appearance, and they say that the passengers would be much more attractive towards young air hostesses, and they
So
would be
one
able to
one
serve them
assumption,
better.
one assumption, and actually perhaps supported by the data as well. Passengers are men, and the airline is in business. So in order to attract more men to their airline, airlines have to hire beautiful young women in order to keep the interest of the men. And these men, who some of them who may be unruly, they don't need matron figures on the air hostesses like mothers to ensure their to control and deal with the unruly passengers. So the second thing is also taken for granted that there will be unruly passengers which are men, and that's okay. So it's not that okay if you have a unruly passenger, take him off the flight. In order to control that person, you need to have beautiful young women. So how is it that your beautiful young woman can control these unruly men? What is the role of women? To lure them, to seduce them, to do those kinds of things in order to, even on a flight, to calm them. So with their beauty, with their glamour, with their ability to, kind of keep men under control, they can do this better job. What did the Supreme Court say on this one? Did they agree with this reasoning? Did they disagree with this reasoning?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the question? My connection was disrupted.
Yeah, I'm asking the whole class, only Ankit is not to answer. I'm asking the question whether the Supreme Court agreed with this reasoning that because young and attractive women are required, are needed to control the unruly passengers, therefore, um, so do they agree with this reasoning with the tribunals that yes, this is their role of air hostesses to control the unruly men with their beauty and with their youth?
Ma'am, the court said that the more senior air hostesses with their experience would be much better able to take care of the passengers control the passengers, and this reasoning they rejected, but they accepted that the air hostesses and the flying pursers, they are a different class. So discrimination on the basis of sex in article 15, they said it does not apply here.
Okay. So what did they say is not acceptable regulation? Which regulation did they agree to? On the
And they,
question of marriage, on the question of restriction on marriage, in how many years could they marry?
in the first 4 years they could not, after that they could.
After 4 years, they could marry. So, what is the justification given by the court to say this is a reasonable restriction?
I mean, it was basically for, they said it would be good for family control, and also if air hostess joins at 19, she will not be able to marry by 23. So that would enable women marrying in a legal age after 23. So they said that this is a good arrangement.
Yeah, so even if the legal age of marriage is 18, we are looking after their interest. This is too young to marry at 18 and 19. Women join air services at 19, 23, 24, they leave, then they settle down in marriages. And certainly it will, because the moment they marry, they will have to produce children. So it will be good for them to marry a little late. And therefore, restriction on 24 years of marriage, which is will take them to 23, 24, is a reasonable restriction. It will help the country's population control policy. How many women are we talking about in this case? How many air hostesses?
Women, I think 750 or so.
So less than 800 women. If they do not produce children for 4 years, because they have been delayed to get married, and it is assumed that without marriage they cannot give birth. So if they do not marry for 4 years, it will impact the national population. Is this really the reason? Do we really think that 800 women, if they are allowed to, their marriage is delayed, it will have such a great impact on national population? That impact is not required of bursars. Buskers can marry and have children, but not air hostesses. So, what is the underlying thinking which is reflected when the judge used this reason to say national population policy? What is playing in the mind of the judge?
Ma'am, what I think the reasoning might be that on the pregnancy part they said that this is completely outrageous and this cannot be sustained, so you will have to allow them to be to bear children, and they rejected that argument. So maybe the reasoning may be that young, if they marry before attaining 23, in the 4 years period, then their husbands might not allow them to pursue the career as an air hostess. And if they restrict them after 23, that would be all right, because they could have got more younger women in their services. So after 23, if they get married, if their husbands do not allow them, that maybe all right for them.
No, no, no. If you look at it, the judges said motherhood essential. So you
Mhm.
cannot restrict them not having children. You cannot have the restriction saying that they must resign on motherhood. Mother is it's, how can you are so much worshipping motherhood. So any restriction on motherhood is completely a no-no. We cannot permit that. But marriage, delay in marriage is okay. Why is delay in marriage important for women, not the men working on the same flight? Why does the law did not say, why did the law did not provide that anybody who is flying on the plane, they cannot marry for 4 years after joining service, men or women? Why only women were prevented to delay their marriages by 4 years? Why were the men not prevented from doing the same? That's what we
Ma'am,
were talking about. Yes, Saloni?
Ma'am, answer is in the argument raised by the defendant. Argument number five, ma'am. If the bar of marriage or pregnancy is removed, it will lead to the huge practical difficulties, as a result of which a very heavy expenditure would be having to be incurred by the corporation to take arrangements for the substitutes of the
So that's the
working.
economic argument. I'm there in business for making money. If I allow them to marry, they will produce children, and then I have to grant maternity leave, which means I have to pay their salary as well as employ somebody else. So it's not a viable economic proposition, and that's what we were saying, that the more maternity leave you grant to women, fewer takers will be there, fewer employees will be there, and this is what they have put it in writing, saying that economic burden on the company is not viable. It's not. We are here for making money, na? Or at least not have expenses at our own end. So huge expenses, one reason. And this is what we have always been saying, that legislations which have been created for benefit of women can actually backfire. So they put restrictions on their employment, on their continuation employment, on their personal lives. All those restrictions come in because we have a law which says if a woman has worked in your place for such and such time, then you must give maternity leave. So therefore, this is a very clear black and white statement from the airlines, which said that no, it will mean huge expenses. The court did not agree with that because motherhood is more important than your profit. So they are a government company. For the Supreme Court to say that, for the company to agree to it is different. But when there is no litigation, somebody doesn't go to the court. And the company says, if you will work here till the time you get married, till the time you get children, what kind of remedy this woman will have? So the company says, this is our policy. So unless she goes and challenges, she's in a there's no scrutiny done on an automatic basis to find out what are the terms and conditions of companies, different whether private or public. So if a company does that, the burden is on the woman to go and then plead that no, this is against my right and all that. But in any way, so in this one, you have two propositions. One, till for 4 years you will not marry. So I'm asking you again, why is it? So pregnancy is okay. Once you get married, it is automatic that you will then produce children. There's no understanding that even after marriage, women may decide not to have children. But that is taken for granted that biology is such they will have children. And because they have, this motherhood is precious for women. So somewhere reinforcing that if a woman decides to not produce children after marriage, she's not a good ordinary woman. There's also indirect messages there that after marriage, it is your duty to produce children. And this is something which we have to praise, we have to really make arrangements for. But till 4 years, you will not marry is coming from where? It is again coming from youth and beauty. Who would want to have, pregnant woman walking around the aisle? And it is also assumed that after after the delivery, they will not be so beautiful and attractive. Their body shapes will change. So you want to keep as many for the young, beautiful, attractive woman for as long as possible. So that the role of the presentation of the air hostess as a beautiful, attractive young woman still plays. So it certainly is not the what they've said on the face of it. On the face of it, the court said it is the population control. But that is a ridiculous argument. That is a ridiculous reasoning to say that population will be affected if 800 women will not marry for 4 years. But there is no obligation for any other job, for any other group of people, the men, not to produce for 4 years after marriage. No, not to marry for 4 years.
Ma'am,
That
also.
after joining service, every job, you want to retain the job, then 4 years you will not marry, men or women. No, it's only women because their body gets affected with pregnancy. Men don't. So there's a connection, very categorical connection made between marriage and pregnancy. And this is seen to be the ideal woman who will then produce. If you got married, then it's a duty to produce. And that we cannot prevent. But we can delay your marriage because we still want, even though the judges did say that older women will be fine to control. But the fact that they're still retaining the 4 years restriction on marriage is indicating their desire to have young, beautiful, attractive women on the board.
Ma'am, also, ma'am, the idea of marriage often leads to the involvement of the man and his entitlement over the woman. So,
Mhm.
young, beautiful woman is more an unmarried woman. She is more easily
Yeah, that she's
available for
attractive.
consumption for these men who would be passing.
After the marriage, so
Yeah.
she's no, don't no, touch me not category. And the
Yeah.
red signal out there that no, she is somebody else's property.
Yeah.
But as long as she is not married, she is available to everyone to fool around, to kind of woo around or do whatever you want to. These are all available properties. So all this is not written, but is playing out its role because for them to think of a reason population, from where did they just got this idea of population control with 800 women? So certainly the beauty myth, the beauty part, the presentation. So that's what you say, that no, what the judges say and what they do. Maybe two different things. So at one hand, they are saying, no, no, Mahesh Tribunal and all, that is all wrong. That is not how we perceive women. And the older women can do their job. But still, delay your marriage for 4 years. What rationality? Okay, then there were these other questions, although other um, discussions. There was restrictions on women who were, these restrictions, I think, were not there in the routes which were plying between here and England. So they said that there's discrimination, that women who were doing Air India had different rules, and those women who were in the Indian Airlines previously were two separate airlines. So then they said, no, that we are doing because of the international laws. So if a flight is flying to a country, then the rules of that country we have to abide by. So there's a reasonable restriction. So therefore we cannot compare the two situations.
It's United Kingdom, ma'am.
Yes. So the flight going to United Kingdom had different terms and service conditions, and the answer of the judge was that that's not discriminatory. So even if they are doing the same kind of work, but because of the rules and regulations of UK, we have to follow their rules and regulations if our plane is going to that place. So when they said that it will be good for their health, they will be better able to take decisions, all that is reflecting paternalism. We want their good. We are not saying so. There is patriarchy playing out in the sense of the role of woman as being young and attractive at the airlines. So that's very categorically objectifying the woman as sexually attractive human beings. That's the role that they have. So that's a patriarchal approach to the work that they're doing. Their job is there to attract men, to woo women, to keep them calm. So their job is not seen as something. And also somewhere very categorically, what about the women? The sexuality of women is not at all at play. The women passengers, do they need to have beautiful young hot boys as the air hostesses? So why is it that only women should be the air hostesses? Of course, we have both men and women as air hostess. I know what are they called, but I do see the men doing the same kind of work which women used to do earlier, and they are really hot and young and attractive men. So now we are recognizing that there is a perception change, that it is not only men who have sexuality and sexual attraction. So either whether because of the parity or because of the construction of sexuality, we do know that today things are changing. But look at this scenario where they said their one of their promotion avenues were also cut off. So all that the judges did not, they said, no, all that is not right. We need to set that right and increase the age of retirement as well. But they were stuck with the restriction on marriage. Ankit, you have your hand up?
Ma'am, also as far as pregnancy is concerned, they said that if the third pregnancy occurs, then they can terminate their services, and they said this for two reasons. Firstly, that third bearing a third child would affect the health of the woman, and then it would also prevent population explosion.
Yeah, so
Then
when they say it will affect the health of the woman, that is paternalism. I am trying to protect you. You do not know what's good for you. So I tell you, don't have more than two children. So that is paternalism, which is also a form of patriarchy. But it is in this saying, in your interest, I want you to restrict something. So paternalism and patriarchy is very much written, even though it's a progressive judgment. So what we're saying is that even when you the reasoning, so what could have been an alternative reasoning? When we think of alternate reasoning or alternate judgment which could have come on these terms and conditions, we were to set them aside. Was there a possibility of saying sameness approach? Whatever restrictions you put on women, you will put on men. What would that lead to? The male bursars will not be able to marry for 4 years. They will have to resign from service if they produce children or more than 2 children. And they will retire, whatever the age groups were fixed for women, will put the same terms and conditions. They will have to do ground service after such and such age. We did that. We took the restrictions on women as the standard, all in their interest. No? So whether the same restrictions will be in the interest of men. Was what women were saying, give us the same thing which you are giving to the men, which the court did not agree to. But suppose that the demand was that the same restriction should be put on the men doing the similar kind of work. We're okay, we'll retire, we'll do everything if the men are also doing the same thing. So turning the sameness demand on its head. Instead of women being treated similarly to men, if we were to say, okay, whatever restrictions airlines, if you think this is a problem, then you have to put the same restrictions on men.
For the retirement age restriction, the court would not allow such an argument, because they said that the air hostesses and the flight pursers, they constitute two different categories and they cannot be equated with each other. So then we would have to prove that they are basically the same category, and it is not a case of reasonable
Yeah, but
restriction.
what is the reason? What was the work which the bursars were doing? The women said we do the same work and we share each other's work.
No,
Just
personally,
because just because you give a separate title to that job, does it mean it's a different work? This is what
I
has
did.
happened. The men were called bursars, the women were called air hostesses. And then you say these are two different jobs. So is there any description of the work which bursars do on the flight? There's an omission, important omission. For them to say, no, this is not the same job, they need to spell out why it is not the same job. We don't get any insight on that one. Maybe the lawyers didn't argue that, but they should have argued, because if the women are saying that we share the same responsibilities, we do each other's work as well, we have to work as a team, then there must be certain clear demarcations to say bursar's work job is different because this is what exclusively they do. And these are the things which only air hostesses do. But if the women are saying that no, we share the work responsibility, we work as a team. So certainly the air hostesses are not flying the plane, nor are the bursars. So what is it that the bursar do? Unless we get an insight there, is it enough to say no, their work is different? Bursars are different than air hostesses. So even rejecting that argument, if the judge has not said anything to us, tell us as to why is it a different job, Then what are the reasons for justifying to say no, they can have different terms and conditions? We don't get
The
any insight. Yeah.
when the court did spell out some of the things that I did not personally agree with. They said that their pay scales, uh, their eligibility for appointment, and their duration for time for work, and all these things are different. So basically, those were the things that they were challenging, and the court said that since these are the things that are different from them, between them, therefore they would constitute a different class.
Yeah, because I said the education qualification, the two are different. The women can come without any, I think, university degree, while for the bursars, university degree is required. So that's a starting point to make a distinction that why the work, uh, the qualifications are different. But qualifications are different. Does it mean that they are actually doing a different work? Or whether the distinction was made because you wanted to have younger women and therefore say, okay, right from school you can come. You're just at the time when you become very attractive, just after adolescent. You're just young adults. So was that so again, if we start going back, why was it if they were doing the similar kind of work, why were their recruitment the conditions different? Why were their educational qualifications held what were said to be different? So unless you get into the nitty gritty, because this is what we call as indirect discrimination, that on the face of it, your qualifications are different, your qualifications are different, therefore you get different pay scale, you get different pay schools. But what is the rationale for saying you can become air hostess from school, but for become a bursar you have to have a degree? What is the justification? Why did we lay down that qualification? Were we trying to get younger women compared to older men? Or whether there was a technical requirement in the nature of the job being different, that you needed to have this kind of qualification, you needed to have only this kind of qualification. There's no such, because we are, what is not being challenged is the very rule. The rule itself has no rationale. Why can a man not become a bursar after school? We do not have that discussion in this judgment. And we do not know why was this not raised. So we have an ignorance, but these are the questions we need to ask. We need to ask this question, that what was the difference in the nature of the job these two people were doing, because of which you require different qualifications? Was it to ensure that younger women join these services because we want young, attractive women? Or was there something more to it? That there was a substantive difference in the work the bursars do, because of which they needed to be more mature, they need to be more qualified? Or it was just to ensure that we get young women into the airplane? What is the rationale? Why was the women work? Because then your whole argument that if you do graduation, then you're already 22, no, 21 or something. So then this whole argument of delay in marriage and all that will not work. So you can do your attraction job and then you can go and get married and settle down in your life. The men certainly have to do for that one ties up with our thing also, that the 18 girls can marry, 21 boys can. So as it is, they're not eligible to marry. So the question of them marrying at the age of 18 does not arise. But and it is also said that age of 21 is because by that time they would have done a degree, university degree, and then they are ready for a job to look after and provide for their wife and children. So that ties up with the whole philosophy, which says man's job is to provide job, and therefore you will settle in the job. Girls are not supposed to be getting settled by a job. You do it on a temporary basis, a time gap arrangement to get married. So that cannot happen after graduation. After graduation, women will want a permanent kind of a job. So therefore, this is all tying up to the same thing, that your role is primarily to be the housewife. So in the between, you want to have a little bit of fun and traveling, you can do that. So join up for this, yes. There are lots of thought A lot of unconscious thought is still playing out in the restriction on marriage for women for 4 years. Any other thoughts you have?
I have one, ma'am.
Yes, Saloni.
Ma'am, in the like second page, they have took this data as a defense, but I don't feel it very overwhelming. Which says that ki only two air hostess reach at the age of 30 between 1960 to 1965, and I find it very fascinating that ki at that point of time also like women were like interested to become air hostess and they were like doing service. We have exceptional women who reached 30, so why are you banning them?
Why are you?
Banning them like not letting them like confining them when you get married you have to resign.
No, no, they were saying they are using the data to say that look, the trend is like this only. So we are not doing anything which women themselves are not doing. Women themselves are leaving. It is only exceptionally that a woman doesn't get married at 23, 24. Like only two women out of these many have not married. Everybody else has married and left. But we do not know whether they left because you didn't let them, or the whole point was that the only two women remain unmarried. But it is not an automatic corollary that everybody else wanted to leave the job because they wanted to get married. They might have wanted to continue with the job, but there was no term and condition possible for them to do it. So if you had allowed this, then you could have said, okay, out of 20, out of 30 women, to whatever that number is, 800, what is the number?
Ma'am, 37.
So out of
At that point of
737,
87, at that point of
so,
time it was 87.
so out of 87, two have remained unmarried. All others you threw out. It does not mean that they didn't, if it was that you were not restricting them, out of 87, two remain unmarried, remaining 85 married, and five left the job. 80 still continued, could have been a possibility. Or if it was that, okay, only five retained in the service after getting married, 80 of them left the service. Then you could have said that, look, most of the women in any case leave. But here we do not have that information. You didn't leave. So the only thing they are pointing out is that only two women did not marry. But it does not mean that all the other women who married didn't want to have the job. So that is of no use. But the argument they were building up on this one, therefore they did not give this other information that how many were made to resign or how many voluntarily resigned, because there's no choice. There was no choice. There was no choice that okay, you can continue but don't have children. We just said that if you marry, you resign. If you marry within 4 years, you resign. After 4 years, you resign once you get the children. So we do not know how many of them resigned by marrying within 4 years. We do not know how many of them were made to resign because of the pregnancy. None of that, the qualitative data is not available. And this broad data that only two women did not marry, it is saying automatically that if women choose to marry, which means they don't want to work. Or they are not, they are not right. They are not a right fit to be working when they are married. All that is playing out in this argument.
Also, ma'am, if the airlines had put similar restrictions on the air flight purses, that you may retire, you will have to retire at the age of 58, or if you get married, whichever is earlier, then most of the air purses would have retired if they get married. Then the same argument would
They
have.
would have been forced to retire as the women have been.
Yes.
Yeah, so they are not giving you the alternate figure. They tell us how many of the air persons did not marry till the time that they came 30 or whatever. So if you do not give us a comparison, then to say, oh, there is no, first of all, they are not getting into that whole question, but first they said, oh, the qualifications are different, therefore they are different categories, we will not look at them. So there closes all that chapter. But once you come back to the whole question of population control, then you need to open up this question that how many categories of persons are there in airlines What is the total number of people employed by the airline? How many of them are air hostesses? And how many children are being produced by the other people who have got no restrictions? If you don't, that's why, no, if you do not get the correct information required to make your argument, so we needed to have all this alternate data, which the lawyer did not produce. Judges, of course, will not produce. Why should they do the research? If there was a very sensitive judge, maybe the judge would have done, they had now, of course, a lot of judges have researchers to do that research. And if a judge is really interested, they can do their own research. They can get the researcher to do that research for them. That what is the alternate position of other categories of people. But if the lawyer makes that argument, only then that subject will be discussed. So therefore, lawyers' understanding of what is the kind of information he or she should bring on record for the judge to consider and dispose of. And these are all lacuna in a judgment, which certainly is a progressive judgment, because it certainly gave more than what women had. The case did expose the discriminatory practice, and most of these were set aside by different reasoning, but most troublesome reasoning from my perspective has been the delay in marriage argument. That I do not agree with at all. That this was the real reason for the judges to say 4 years delay is okay. And even if it was their thinking, it is very paternalistic. It is not letting the women to decide for themselves. It is the state which will decide when you should marry, even though the marriage age is 18. But you become air hostess, then you must wait till 23. They're not laying it down for the other women. They don't say, oh, no, we need to increase the age of marriage even for all women. Which, of course, they can't do. But they're not even discussed about it. That the age of marriage at 18 is too low. No comment on that kind. Na? But for air hostesses, it's in their own interest. So even though the law permits them to get married at 18, they should not marry at 18. They're, after all, attractive young women. They should be doing their job for 4 years, entertaining men. Then they can get back to the nitty-gritties of their own personal lives in the families after getting married. Pratiksha, Sayam, any contribution? Soumya, Amisha, Supurari?
I can't think of anything new or additional to this.
Yeah, because in every class, there are only primarily 2 people who are attending my class, participating in the class. Soumya occasionally does that. Sayam does that occasionally. And of course, that total of 7 students. साथ ही हैं, 8वां तो मैं हूँ. सुपरारी झा, आपने बहुत दिन से कुछ बोला नहीं है. आप हैं वहां? Pratiksha Yadav, are you there at the other end?
Yes, ma'am.
Any thoughts, reactions? Amisha, you spoke in the beginning, but haven't done so for a long time.
Yes, ma'am, I have read the case and I was just thinking as to why those who challenged the rules actually came under Article 14 and not under Article 15, because more or less it speaks the same.
Why you want 15?
Because 15 also says that we must not discriminate against anybody.
Only on the no, it says only on the basis of sex.
Yes.
So whether the discrimination was only on the basis of sex is the question.
Yes, they were being discriminated because they were women, and they were, and a whole different cadre was created for women particularly, because no, the same set of rules were not created for the male who were carrying out the same kind of job. But for women, it was
No,
treated as
but the lawyer, what was the women air hostesses lawyer's answer to the argument on part of the airline, which said their qualifications are different. Therefore, they do not constitute the same class of employees. If they don't have the same class of employees, then you can't say that what is being done to women is discriminatory. Discrimination against would mean that men are given something which they are not given while they are doing the same kind of a job. So if the court says that their job is different, their qualifications are different, then how do you meet that argument?
I'm trying to figure that out, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. But when you are looking at all the judgments and the whatever critique we have, we need to think of that if you were the judge, what is it that you could have said? No, one is that of course I would give a different decision, but then for what reasons will you give a different decisions? What aspects of the matter you will examine more? That's the only way to improve upon what has already been given. Certainly, finding out what the judges have said is the first step. And then to find out what is it that the judges could have said if these other aspects, angles, arguments were presented, these other facts were presented. So if we cull that out, then for future practice, we can say that what all information is required if I want to challenge something. So if the entry qualifications are different, one route is to say that why are they different? What is the nature of the job of a bursar compared to air hostess, because of which the flight bursars must have this qualification while air hostesses can have only this much? We cannot find that. Then indirectly we're ensuring that young men do not get into service, young women only get into service. So what is the rationale for doing that? What is justification saying that younger women should be in the flight and not as young men? Men have to be older. So somewhere we're again saying that in this manner, that women have learned or studied sufficiently than their 12th. But men must do a minimum graduation before they can get into a job. They should get into a job. That's also being reinforced. That the minimum qualification men should have. For women, even 12th is okay for them to start their life. First as an employee and then for a marriage. Because after 12th, they join 3 years of service. Then they get married. Then which means that we are not expecting women to have even any higher education. While men must have at least one degree. Only then they can settle in life. So that's also another angle to the conversation, that what is expected, what is the kind of education we expect the boys and the girls to have. स्कूल पढ़ लिया काफी है तुम्हारे लिए. So it is important to ask the questions which have not been asked. When we read any judgment, we should not only read what has been written, but should also try to identify what has not been written, what has not been talked about, and then find out why has not been talked about. What may be the justifications? One simple answer is because the lawyer did not raise it. Why did not lawyer not raise it? Because he did not think about it. He was not aware of this angle. And this can always happen. We also learn over years. It's not that I knew all this critique of the law from the days when I started teaching. We have also developed gradually our critique and understanding and trying to find out what all can be argued upon. So maybe if I was teaching this case 20 years ago, I would not have all this critique. I will just show such a good judgment that they have made a progress. But once you start doing analysis from taking position that okay, is it patriarchy, whatever positions might be, that is it beneficial to these women? It may be that other women are not affected, but whether these women are taken care of. Many a times judges give all this flowery language, big words, but substantively nothing has been given to the woman. The reverse is true in Mutamma. The judge is dismissed, but actually the case has ensured everything which she wanted. And the judges did use the flowery language as well, emphasizing on the malady not of this woman. They were not focusing only on this woman. In Mothama, they were talking about women generally, the status of women in employment, the private public dichotomy, the role of the woman as a housemaker, all that they have addressed the issues of women in that judgment. Even though it was just one woman who was saying, I have been discriminated against. So judges and lawyers have a very important role to sometimes expand the issue from one person to women as a class. It happened the other way around also, that by referring to women as a class, you create stereotypical images, denying the benefit to this woman. Yesterday, somebody did mention that Justice Bobade has given an explanation that the context have not understood. So the judge says in a different manner, but referring to that judgment. And I did read that in the newspaper today. The judge said that no, it was out of context. I had asked that question because this man had said he wanted to marry this girl. So why still we need to go ask that first question? He's still not understanding the import. Just because he wanted to marry and he had to rape the girl, what is of relevance whether he still wants to marry or not? What has got that to do? Anything. What has got that to do with the question that has he raped the woman or not raped the woman? If he raped the woman, then suppose he says, yes, I'm ready to marry. Then where will the judge, where will the Chief Justice go? Now marry, okay, it's all right. Now that because you have raped her and told you are ready to marry, then it's all right. What is the significance? Why did he ask that question? And if the man said, yes, I'm ready to marry, what will the judge do? What will he do with that answer? Is that a justification and that's a clarification by the Chief Justice has given? Where does it lead us? Where does it leave us? What do you think? The judge asked, he says, I asked because it has been stated that he wanted to marry the girl. It is apparent that if he has raped the girl didn't want to marry or have anything to do with the boy. So now the judge asks, will you still marry her? No, it's like Nanavati asking Ahuja, will you marry the girl? And he says, well, so was the judge expecting, so will I marry every girl I sleep with? What was the judge expecting as an answer to that question? Was he expecting Ahuja answer? Or was he expecting yes? In either case, what will he do? If he says, no, I will not marry the girl. So that then it is, of course, then he is guilty. He says, yeah, I am ready to marry. Does it absolve him from criminal liability? Does it lessen the trauma of the girl who didn't want to do anything with this man? What is this justification? I ask, out of the context I've been quoted. What is the context, by? How it is important that this man wanted to marry her before he raped her? How does that matter? It actually is saying, fait accompli. I have now raped you, your body, now nobody else will accept. Therefore, you have no choice but to marry me, and I'll be magnanimous enough to marry you. What is this nonsense? I certainly think that no, the judge still does not know what he's talking about. And I still take the position that fault lies with us as in the law faculties. We do not talk about matters of injustice and stereotypical images, stereotypical responses, and all that. So shall we stop with yes, Ankit?
Ma'am, these kind of things do give they give a message to the high courts also, and in one of the readings that I read, it was mentioned that in 2015 there was a minor rape case in a district of Tamil Nadu, and the Madras High Court judge had said that the girl who became major till that time, she should marry that man, because that minor girl, she had became pregnant and she had given birth to a girl. So the High Court judge had said that you will have to marry the man now.
Yeah, no, that's what saying, that it is fait accompli. You have got no other future. The only good future you can have in this is a man who is abusive. This is what the judges are saying. You are doomed if you do not marry this man. It's also saying, oh, you're bad luck. We are trying to improve your condition. But does that really assuages the girl's hurt and the trauma and whatever she has gone through because of the rape? To live with a person she never wanted to have anything to do with him. This is all talking about insensitivity of the people who are in the decision-making positions. And that certainly demoralizes the girls, demoralizes the people who file a complaint. Certainly not acceptable behavior on part of the judges. Previously, we had the scenario where the lawyers were asking questions to women in such a manner that they are silenced. Very good example is this film. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Pink?
No. This is Amrish Puri as the lawyer. And Damini. So the manner in which he asked the questions, he was just silencing the girl. We have another case in Delhi High Court where the young girl, 6 years, 6 years, was raped. And in the deposition, she said, this is the man who did Ganda Kam. And the judge did ask, what do you mean by Ganda Kam? So the girl said, he did that to me, which husband and wife do at night. This was the session judge, and the session judge convicted. The High Court acquitted, saying that the husband and wife do a range of things at night, from kissing, caressing to intercourse. The judge has not asked the question, was there penetration? And if that is not proved, no liability. So language. Speaking Hindi, the judge knows Hindi. Her understanding of this is intercourse, but the High Court doesn't understand this language. Yes, no. The words do not indicate that there was certainly an intercourse, therefore benefit of doubt. Acquittal.
Ma'am,
So this is
maybe they understood, but they refused to accept. So that's
no,
why
but
this kind of reasoning.
no, it is kind of showing ignorance of the colloquial usage. My maid, whenever she talks about somebody has raped somebody, she doesn't use balatkar. उसने उसका गंदा काम किया. That's what she says to me. That's the language, that's the word. How many of us know really the Hindi words for the private parts? Some of us may know the English words. I did not know what is semen in Hindi. I was doing a community program. I did not know how to translate semen. I do not know the Hindi word because in Hindi, I've learned law in English. So I know the English words for private parts, for the activities, etc. You tell me to teach this subject in Hindi, I do not know how to name a part of the body, various parts of the human body, which are involved in sexual intercourse. So when people evolve their own language, people do not talk about the words like homosexuality, balatkar. These are all literature words in the colloquial language. They don't use this word. But the judge refuses to accept that this is the equivalence of. Yes, no. This specific question hasn't been asked. Acquittal. And these are not cases where the judge was bribed or anything. These are good judges, known to be sensitive judges. Even they. It's a woman judge of Delhi High Court judge, who acquitted, saying that no, Ganda Kam doesn't mean necessarily it was intercourse. By law, my maid, every time she says Ganda Kam, it is only intercourse. She doesn't say touching and caressing and kissing is Ganda Kam. वो गलत बात है. So there is a difference between गलत बात and Ganda Kam. The judge doesn't accept. So we'll have lots of understanding of who we are talking about and what context, and for the justice to say, oh, I was asking because he had said he would marry, he wanted to marry. So what? Okay, let's stop today. Tomorrow, what are we talking about?
Richa Mishra case.
Yeah. Again, try to find out what is the perspective of the judge. The four approaches, which one do you think has got reflected? And what could have been the alternate reasoning, reaching the same consequence? It's a good judgment. Again, good relief given to the woman involved. But what is the reasoning the judge has given, and what could have been a different reasoning, which would have been more empowering the woman? So that's our job for tomorrow.
Ma'am, I have one question to ask.
Yes. Can you hold this question for tomorrow, Saloni?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah, so ask tomorrow. For tomorrow, we have two classes and only one case. You can actually look at other cases also. And we should, because I'm saying I will be taking leave 18th. So we'll actually take both the cases tomorrow. Secretary and versus Babita Punia, as well as Richa Mishra. Both these cases tomorrow. And if possible, we will take up the third as well. So actually, we'll try to cover these three cases tomorrow. So please read all the three. Richa Mishra, Babita Punia, and Kirti versus Oriental Insurance. Babita is the one where we're talking about armed forces, and Kirti is the one where the newspaper said, oh, she's going to get same money as the husband. So we'll do all the three cases tomorrow. I'll put it on the dashboard also for those who have not attended today. If they want to attend tomorrow, they can read these three cases. All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.